Alright, this is a submission video for marathons that I might submit Celeste Any for. Celeste is a platforming game that is a lot of fun, and this is a little bit of a de-rust, but very marathon real. We can, for incentives, choose the file name. There is special file names that do things in the game, but otherwise, they do things. First level here that we're going to be jumping into, literally, is called the Prelude. We do not have any of our powers yet. All we can do is climb, jump, and that's about it. I do have a button set up on my controller so that all I have to do is press it and then we'll just skip cutscenes. That is perfectly legal in the 80% category because it is something you can set up inside the game. I'm going to skip another cutscene right there, and yeah, that was the prologue. Now we're on to Forsaken City. Forsaken City is the first real chapter of Celeste. You have your dash powers. You can dash in all 4 directions, actually all 8 directions. And there are some tricks that you can see that I am doing as we go through here. So some of these tricks is if you dash up next to a wall and then press jump in the middle of that dash, you're going to be gaining a little bit of an extra height. Also, if you press down and diagonal in a direction that you want to go, plus dash and jump, you do what's called a hyper, and it depends on your timing between the jump and the dash. So if you wait a few seconds, you do a hyper. If it's pretty much instant, it's a super. The difference is that a super will not keep or store a dash for your next action, where a hyper will actually store the dash so you can dash again in midair. It's literally a difference of a couple seconds frame timing, and I mean, I guess it depends on, how fast you want to go somewhere. A super sometimes is better because it's faster, but sometimes you need to get that hyper in order to progress further. So yeah, that's just what you're going to see on this level, is a lot of what are called wall bounces, hypers, supers. Every once in a while you'll see something I do where I'm jumping off of a corner. That is literally a frame perfect jump. You have to fall in the corner, hit jump at just the right point, and you jump off the corner. What's interesting about that last corner is there are spikes there. Because of the way that I am falling quote-unquote into / next to the spikes, your frame window or your window of your character are so close to the spikes that I'm not technically hitting them, and by the time that my collision says that I'm hitting them, I'm going in the opposite direction that the spikes are pointed. So I guess as long as you're not falling directly into the spikes, so if they're pointing up, if you're not falling down into them, then you don't die. So you could be going in any direction except for down, and you won't die. This is my favorite level, Chapter 2. I love this level. So, again, kind of a very fast area. A lot of just pre-screen setups here, just to make sure that I'm dashing from the right spot in order to get my hypers or wave dashes. Now, a wave dash is a little bit different than a hyper. A wave dash is kind of like a stylistic hyper, is what I would like to call it. Basically, it is you're starting from mid-air, dashing down into the ground, and then you're doing the same button presses as a hyper, and you get the same action that happens as a hyper. It just looks, and I know that wave dashes can be used for other things than hypers, so there is a reason that there are 2 different techniques there. Mostly it's like side B, side C, and farewell that you would think about using those for. Not so much in the 80% run, but every now and again you will see me start from an elevated position and instead of directly on the ground, and do a dash into the ground, which is a wave. And then every now and again you're going to see me jump off of these blocks here, instead of just dashing out of them. Those are called dream dashes, or dream jumps. And really all it is you're getting more distance by jumping off of the frame that you come out of those blocks. So as long as you're coming out of those blocks correctly, and I took a death there because I jumped at the same time that Battlein was coming down. So now I gotta do this section again. Unfortunate time loss. But otherwise, as long as you don't do that, yeah, so we're getting through there, no problem. There's a lot to say about this game. Anyone that wants to commentate for this game, I'm sure, even if you've never seen it before, you're going to be blown away by, you know, just how fast and what can be done in this game. This is probably one of my favorite games to run platform-wise, just because the storyline in this game strikes a lot with me personally. The main character, Madeline, who I'm playing as right now, is basically trying to climb this mountain named Celeste, and she's doing it to try and prove something that, you know, she's some sort of a character or some sort of a person that can be something that everyone says that she can't be. There are themes of anxiety in here, there are themes of depression, there are themes of like just you're fighting against a part of yourself that even yourself says that you can't do this. So I mean, for anyone who can relate to those things, and I'm sure with COVID there are a lot of those people out there right now that, you know, this is a very powerful game, and the soundtrack slaps. Like you can't deny that the soundtrack slaps. Chapter 3, we just did a transition back there during the screen. So what's fun about screen transitions is that every time you go through a screen, your dash resets. So what we did is we dashed forward through the screen, dashed immediately backwards up the screen so we can get a little bit of height, and then dash forward again so that we get our dash back and get up to the key. And, you know, here's our second key that we're unlocking now. We're going to take advantage of that again. We've just got a second dash back there to get by going through that transition. And right here, this room is a little tricky as far as like trying to do it quickly for me right now. I am not a world record holder of this game, but you know, I'm definitely in the top 50% of runners, and which is saying something considering, you know, a 50-minute run is nothing to sneeze at in this game, when casually this game can take you 8 hours to go through because of how many times you die and just what the levels can really do to you. Yeah, I think my first casual playthrough of this game I had like 3,000 deaths, and now I'm averaging anywhere from 60 to 120, which is still a lot of deaths for a speedrun, but you know, unless you really know the game and you've played it hours and hours and hours of it, you're going to be dying, even in a somewhat of a high-end playthrough of the game. But so far, Chapter 3, we're doing really good on time so far. Getting into this area in the 151 range is not terrible at all. I wouldn't say it's world record pace for this chapter, but it is definitely quick. We're going to be doing another trick here. I believe, yeah, so we're going to be setting up a hyper. Technically, you can get through this room a little bit faster by setting up that hyper, dashing down immediately, or down diagonal immediately, I should say. And you're basically bouncing around the room. It's a little bit faster. This is a neat little trick. This is going to be doing a wall bounce off the corner of these spikes. Again, these spikes won't kill me as long as I'm moving in a direction that is not towards the spikes. So because I'm moving away from the spikes, they don't kill me. I can run right into them, as long as I'm not moving into them. And we're going to talk to Oshiro again here. So Oshiro is our hotel manager. He is here still trying to tend to this place after it hasn't been used in literally forever. No one's come by to see the hotel, and as you can see from all these things that are moving around, these are dust sprites that are just been hanging around. I didn't do my super or my hyper right there. That's the other difference between a super and a hyper. A super gets you more vertical, and a hyper will get you more horizontal as far as like how your dash actually behaves. So that's the other reason that you might want to use one or the other. We didn't get our dash restore there with a hyper, so we gotta do it again. Not too bad. Dash into the second book. Now in the all red berries category, where you collect every single strawberry in the game, the route through this chapter is actually different. Here's a wave dash. We didn't get the timing though, so we're gonna reset the screen here in just a second. So the reason that we leave screen and come back is when you die on a screen, or if you take too long going through something, the pattern that you're faced against is going to slightly change, depending. So the pattern you get when you first enter the room is different than the pattern you get when you die in the room. So if you know the patterns when you don't die, and you're used to those patterns, as soon as you die, you're going to lose time because you're not used to the pattern that you get after you die. Which Chapter 3 can be kind of a pain when you're still trying to get better and faster at the game, because as soon as you die, all the rooms change. But as soon as you enter the room for the first time, the pattern stays the same. It's just a matter of knowing that pattern. So sometimes you'll see people re-enter rooms just to get the quote-unquote first entry pattern instead of their death patterns. You'll see all this stuff on the floor I'm walking on is turning into dust that you don't want to touch because it will kill you. Do a wall bounce here, get up there. And now we're on to this section. Now this, we're going to quickly dash down to get a restore point right there in case we die. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get a pixel-perfect setup on the side there, and by dying, it resets us literally right next to it. If we didn't set up that reset point, it would set us all the way back through this room. Third try to get Demo Dash is not bad at all. So Demo Dash is a special one-frame dash setup. It's something, again, the way that this game lets you program your controller is you can press multiple buttons with a single button press. It's not macroing because what you're doing is you're basically telling the controller, I want to press down, dash, and jump at the same time, or something like that. So you're not macroing because it's not pressing one after the other, it's pressing all three buttons at the same time. And yeah, so it's nice that the game allows you to press multiple buttons at the exact same time. We're going to be careful through this cycle. But yeah, the way Demo Dash works is whenever Madeline dashes, her hitbox changes from basically standing to squatting, which shrinks her hitbox just a little bit. If you hold duck while you're dashing, and you're dashing in a direction, then her hitbox ducks even further down to 1 pixel. So as long as you're 1 pixel wide, you can make it through a couple of gaps in this game that are just 1 pixel in width. So as long as you know where those are, yeah, demo dashing makes it really easy to get through some areas of the game. We're struggling a little bit with Oshiro here. This can be a pain in the butt if you start breaking the cycle. This is not one that you want to reset. I don't think you can reset it. But a 723 there is not a bad time in Chapter 3. You want to get closer to a 6 in more competitive runs, but a 723 is not terrible at all. It beats my average about 8, so yeah, I'm not complaining about a 723. 15 deaths, that makes sense to get that I have a high of a time. And we're going to be going into Chapter 4. We're hoping to get close to about 4-minute Chapter 4 here. Let's see how quick we can get through here. So, there's only 7 chapters in the game. We're 12 minutes into the run, and we're on Chapter 4. So you're probably thinking to yourself, how is this a 50-minute run? Well, let me tell you. There are things in this game that can really screw with you. The world record, I believe, is about a 26, so I wouldn't say I'm on pace for that right now, but I'm definitely doing decently well. That if I did every other chapter really well, that I'd be, you know, a lot higher on the speedrun board than where I am right now. The whole mechanic of Chapter 4 here is that you have this wind fighting against you, and sometimes it's pushing you forward, sometimes it's pushing you down, sometimes it's pushing... this skip, where we're dashing twice right under the bubble, is called Archie. Easy, second try. But yeah, we have this wind that can push against you. It can push with you. It can just really screw with what you're expecting casually. But whenever you do a hyper, a super, a wave dash, any of those, the wind kind of starts ignoring your speed. I'm not sure how to describe that any better. Like, something about the speed that you gain from having wall bounces or supers or hypers cancels out the effect of the wind on Madeline. So if you do that the entire level, you're not going to be struggling very much through Chapter 4. We're setting up a trick here. That is very close. Basically, the block there gives you momentum, and as long as we hyper at just the right time, it gives us enough momentum to make that jump right underneath without having to wait for the block to get us over there. Saved a couple of seconds over waiting for the block, and there is another trick that goes even faster than what I did, but it is not easy. This one is just doing a hyper off the cloud, but obviously we need to work on timing with this a little bit. Again, this is more of a marathon real run, you know, maybe haven't slept in a couple of days, haven't played the game in a week, you know, a little bit of rust here. You know, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't practicing over and over again during my run to kind of show off a perfect run. I'd rather show off something that, you know, is marathon real. This is what you're gonna get. It could, you know, be better. It could be worse, but it's definitely. I don't want to show something that's only 40 minutes, and then like you're expecting me to be able to do it in 40 minutes, and nope, it takes 50 for me sometimes. There is a trick in that room to do that room a little bit faster. Again, using the momentum of the block to get over there a little bit quicker. I don't know it by heart, so I don't go for it. We're waiting on the top of that just for the wind in order to help us get over to the bubble. And we're already approaching the final section of Chapter 4 here. This is not a long chapter. Really the things that can mess with you in this chapter is the wind, obviously. And then up here, we're going to be starting to run into snowballs. And snowballs, if they hit you just right, you die, and you have to restart the whole screen again after that snowball hits you. Obviously, spikes also being a problem. The wind is not cooperating with me right now. So we just got to be careful. Yeah, so we're trying to make sure that we're getting through each screen with enough time in order to beat the snowball cycle. There we go. Alright, these bubbles are also a little bit of a mechanic. These blue ones only travel a short distance when you enter them, and there is obviously a couple of frames that the bubble holds onto you before it moves, and accepts any command that you put into it. We had to do a little bit of a recovery there because we wanted to do a hyper. We accidentally did a super, but we got the recovery, and a 435. Again, I think we only died a couple of times, so I think we could have made that closer to a 4 without dying, but yeah, you can't complain a 436 at all in Chapter 4. Now, Chapter 5 is where the Celeste Any Percent run really starts to change. Every level that we've done so far, we've basically done the vanilla casual, way, obviously with a little bit of speed tricks to go faster. Chapter 5, we're going to be changing that a little bit here. So in Chapter 5, the Mirror Temple, as I like to call it, the whole theme is now we have these red bubbles that can travel a lot further than the blue bubbles, first off. And there's a lot of mirrors here. So something's going to be happening in mirrors. We're going to dash down, dash over to this, set up our position, and that's called a reverse hyper to get through that. That is, that's not an easy trick, but once you learn it, it's actually not that bad compared to some of the other tricks that you need to do in this game. Upcoming here, there's a cutscene that we're going to try to skip. If you go high enough and reset, you're going to hit this cutscene trigger. We did hit the cutscene trigger, but we were not high enough in order to get to the switch, so unfortunately we just had to go around the long way. Do some more hypers to get through here, dash down to get this block towards us. Unfortunately did not grab onto it, so we're going to do it one more time. And as you can see, I mean, the per death in a room, I mean, it depends on the room, because if you die in a short room, it's not that much of a time loss, but if you die at the end of a long room, it can be quite a big time loss. So you want to really do well in longer rooms, and shorter rooms, I mean, yeah, you don't want to die anywhere, but if you had to choose, learn the long rooms first. And here is where we're doing something that, again, every level has this. This is just the first time we're seeing it in this run. This is a tape that unlocks Side B. So there's Side A, which is the casual any % route. Then there's Side B, which is the harder version of the route. And then there's Side C, which is even harder than B. To unlock C, you have to do a little bit more to unlock it. It's not worth it in any category to go for C. B's are shorter than A's. And this, like I said, is the first time that you're doing this because Chapter 5 is such a long chapter in the original casual area that it actually pays off to do B. To go for the tape and do B, it pays off to do that than to just do it the casual way. It does depend, actually. So what I mean by that is if you're really good at doing B, then yeah, do B. If you're not really good at doing B, like I'm okay at doing B, and there's a shortcut here I'm going to try to hit. I didn't get it. We'll explain that eventually, if we get it. But anyway, so we have to kind of go the long way now because we didn't get that trick. And I'm struggling a little bit because I don't normally do this room. But yeah, so B's are a little bit shorter. What depends on if you're actually decent at doing B well enough is, first off, that trick I was trying to hit that I didn't get. If you get that, it's an automatic faster chapter over doing it the casual way. If you don't get it, then you're pretty much tied for time. There's another trick coming up here where we're going to be doing something, and if we get it, and we get it quickly, then we're going to be going faster than what we could through the casual route. This area I like to call in my splits Cycle Hell, just because if you don't know how to do your timings, this area can mess you up quite a bit. Yeah, so if you're not careful, these things will get you. And it's all a matter of like when you're holding onto things, how long you're holding onto them for, where you're dashing from on each bubble. Like if you change anything you do anywhere in this area, the spikes will get you. And it's a pain in the butt. But as you can see, I'm learning the timing here. We got it on the 4th try. We're going to screen transition here because we want to do this. Now, that's the reason that we screen transition right there, is because that jump is not the easiest in the world. If we didn't screen transition, we'd have to go back through Cycle Hell. Alright, and this is the spike jump. And we got it first try. Excuse me. I'm recording this while I have COVID. So yeah, spike jump, again, that's the second trick in this area. If you get it first try, second try, you're going to be saving a lot of time versus doing the 5A casual route. There's just a little bit of a falling section there that we have to be careful where we're dashing, when we're dashing. And we're going to do a hyper here to basically Mario jump on this creature. That's the other part about Chapter 5 that is unique, is now you have these creatures that are chasing you around. So what's happening in the lore is we've entered a mirror dimension, and battling our other half is basically trying to tell us that we're not good enough, we can't do this, we can't climb the mountain, and all of our anxieties and fears are existing in front of us in this realm that we've entered, which is why these creatures are chasing us. What I'm trying to do there is set up this creature so that he will blow up and he'll push me forward under the block that I'm holding on to at the very end of the room here. Unfortunately, I missed him here. He's in a decent position, and just for safety, bonk him one more time. This room can be a bit of a pain, but if you do it right, we're going to be doing something here where we're going to be going through this room pretty quickly on the third try, get through there, and we're going to meet our friend Theo. Now, Theo is an interesting little character who's been encouraging us the entire time throughout the story of us climbing this mountain. In 5B, he's more breaking narrative, breaking the fourth wall, and talking to the audience, and just making little in-jokes to anyone who's actually played the game. You'll see his dialogue pop up as we jump through here. Now this is called Gauntlet. Gauntlet, as you can see, is filled with these creatures, one right after the other. We have to hit buttons in order to progress forward, and if we don't do it in just the right way, we're going to get nabbed. But easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now, what I did wrong there is I dashed him through Theo. He fell off. When he dies, I die. So I have to not die. Or he has to not die, I should say. I actually didn't throw him right on that second throw, but was able to catch him before, you know, it ended up being bad. That last throw there, obviously, didn't do it right. There is a setup, it's just a matter of, again, knowing where to throw him and moving forward. Now, here's the last part about side Bs, is that you run into these areas that have very timed blocks. And again, you saw this during the cassette collection as well. And this is true for all cassette collections and the end of side B. So every one of these has a block area that these blocks will time on a certain beat. But that's it. Mirror magic. A 6:19 plus 2 minutes to get the tape. That's about 8 minutes for Chapter 5, which leaves Chapter 6 and 7 left. Again, I mean, 22 deaths in Marathon Temple is not terrible, considering that can really mess with you. And we're going to be going into Chapter 6. Now, again, if you're really good at this game, you can do the Chapter 6 B side to do this whole chapter a little bit faster, but you have to be really good at this game. Like, the amount of time that Chapter B or Side B saves over Side A is negligible if you're not good at getting to the tape and doing all of B. But it is quite a bit if you're good at it. So I'm not that great at this game, so I end up doing all of Chapter Side A in Chapter 6. Chapter 6's theme here is feathers, and these creatures are called Kevins. These blocks here. Whenever you dash into a Kevin, it will start moving in the direction that you dash from. And then these feathers you can control with WASD, you can control with arrow keys, your analog stick, your D-pad. I am a controller player when I play this, so I am controlling those feathers with a D-pad. I do have the option to control them with an analog stick, but I've just gotten used to the clunkiness of a D-pad in order to control them. Now that's a cool thing there. If you dash off of a Kevin, like I just did with a hyper, it's going to give you a lot of speed. You can kind of control that, and there is a way to control it. It's just not easy because of how little time you have to control it. Here I'm trying to do a hyper dash storage to get over this without having to dash down into that Kevin. Obviously doing that first try is a little bit faster than doing it, than just dashing into the Kevin and doing it the normal way. Again, the other new thing here are these bumpers that you're seeing. We're going to try to not hit those, but there are certain places that they actually come in very handy. And again, there's a Kevin here that we're going to just launch ourselves off of. Now there is a dash storage there as well, where you can dash twice in a row to hit both those blocks without having to wait for your dash to reset. And yeah, seeing these bumpers here, you're seeing exactly why this area can kind of give you a headache. Using feather physics just to get through here. Now there are different paths. We're going to do another demo dash here. Two different paths here that you can take. You can either go up or down. Everyone has their own opinion on which is faster. I think it's more of a personal preference at this point. I don't think either route is faster or slower than the other. So, I mean, if your preference is top, then go top. If your preference is bottom, go bottom. Alright, so we're getting close here to an incentive area. Now, this is obviously up to whatever marathon accepts this run, but there's an area up here called the Dev Room that you can get into. Now, it is not an easy thing to get into. It's called the Dev Room for a reason, though. So we're going to be seeing that here in just a few moments after we talk to Grandma. And basically, wall bounce up here. Now, what we're going to try and do is wall bounce and hit a single to 2 frame window here that we're able to grab onto without dying. So, I mean, that's about 2 to 3 pixel length there that we're trying to grab onto. And not to mention, there are spikes literally right there that will kill you if you are too low or too high. So, just trying to figure out the wall bounce here. You want to basically, at the very top of your jump up, and then at the very top of that dash, hit your jump again. So that when you get maximum height. I'm just not hitting it right, so it's just taking me a few times. Again, Marathon Real, I haven't played this game in a little bit, so it was one of those, I just wanted to make sure that people realize that when they're donating to something like this, it is not an easy thing to donate towards. I think we've been in here for, oh, we just got it. And then this part's not as hard. You just have to do a hyper and then jump at the right time. Now there's the dev room right there. We're only taking a few seconds to look at the devs, say hi and bye. But each of those creatures are in that room, represents one of the devs of this game. I would honestly have to look up which ones represent which devs, or developers I should say. But yeah, it's a little secret room that is not easy to get into, unless you've done that quite a couple of times and you're used to doing it. And like I said, Marathon Rail, you just want to show off that this game can be hard. So we took a couple of shortcuts. We're basically chasing Battlein now. We're going to be doing something called confronting ourselves. We're going to be confronting the other side of us that is worried about going up this mountain, worried about us, worried about what it could mean if we actually get to the top. Anxious, depressed, they want to be left alone. So yeah, here is confronting yourself. Confronting yourself is a boss fight. So you have to make it through each screen here, dodging projectiles that you are throwing at yourself. Lasers, everything, and the soundtrack for this just slaps. So every section in my timer, I normally have named normally after the actual section name. So this is normally like called confronting yourself. In my timer, I've renamed it to Hey Yeah. And if you can't tell why, maybe I'll just be quiet here so you can tell why. Because the soundtrack is amazing. Yeah, if there's any reason to allow Celeste as a run, even from someone who's not a great runner of the game, it's for the soundtrack. The soundtrack of this game is just absolutely amazing, and it's one of the many reasons I love playing this game. One of the other reasons is, like I said at the very beginning, and I've said a couple of times throughout the run, this game deals with heavy topics like depression, self-worth, things like that. And it's things that I really do identify with, finding yourself and finding, what it means to be you. Through COVID, through everything that's happened in my life over the past couple of years, playing this game, it's been one of those games that I just keep coming back to because the soundtrack is amazing, the story is amazing, just everything about this game. It's such a good game. If you have a chance to go spend money to buy this game, go buy this game. If you have a chance to spend this to buy this game twice, buy it twice. It is that good. I own this game on itch.io, on Steam, and I believe I also have a Epic copy. So yeah, I own this game quite a few times over. But each time I bought the game, I bought it on sale. So again, can't complain too much, but I've definitely gotten my money's worth out of it. This and Hollow Knight are probably my top two when it comes to games I love to play. So we're coming up to the halfway point here and confronting ourselves. And the music just got a lot better. So, again, Chapter 6 is kind of bringing a lot in that we've already kind of dealt with from previous chapters. It's just now a matter of, doing everything without also, dying to these projectiles. There's a lot of cycles, there's a lot of just, having to know when to do things and when to dash, where to dash, all that good stuff. Even casually, this is not an easy area. As you can see, we're dying multiple times just trying to get through it. Now we have to wait for that last block to boost us up. There isn't a way over the spikes without that block. So yeah, if you meet that block at the wrong part of the cycle, you just gotta wait for it, unfortunately. Out of all the chapters, and this is probably, again, the reason that my time is so high compared to some other runners, out of all the chapters I need to learn, 6 and 7 are the ones that I don't know well enough. in order to say that I can get through them quickly. I'm still kind of running off of I know how to do the chapter, but I know how to do it in a more casual way than a speedrun way. And that's just because practice. These 6 and 7 are the longest chapters to practice on. Even if you are really good at both of them, 6 can take about 6 minutes to get through, and 7 can take about 10 minutes to get through. So those are both decently long chapters compared to the others, which 5 is a total of 8 minutes, 4 is about 4 minutes, 3 is about 6 minutes, 2 is about 2.5, 1 is about 1.5. So yeah, if I can start hitting those times more consistently, then I would be closer to a 35 instead of a 50. That's the biggest difference between those two times, is just being able to get 6 and 7 consistent. And 5, because if I can do better on 5, then I'm saving time there too. So chapter 6 is done with a total of 36:34. Now, if I had chapter 7 practice and I was averaging about a 12-minute run, this would be a 48. I can tell you right now that's not going to be the case. So we're stretching our hands here, getting ready for Summit. Now Summit, chapter 7, is a combination, very long combination, of every single chapter that we've seen before, which is why this is a 10-minute long chapter. So there is going to be a lot that happens here in a short amount of time. But as you're going to see here in just a few moments, we're at the very bottom of the mountain. We're about to go climb the entire mountain in one go. So we're starting here at rock bottom, which is where we ended up with our other self when we confronted ourselves, and now we actually have 2 dashes. And we got that second dash by basically talking to ourselves, reconciling our differences, and yeah. So if you thought the game was broken before with only 1 dash, yeah, now we have 2. Because now we can not only dash and store a dash, that means we can actually dash 3 times in midair if we do it right. So here it is, 1, 2, and 3. We didn't hit our dash right there, unfortunately. That's what we wanted to do. And that is the end of rock bottom already. Now we're going into the next area of Summit. This is chapter 1, also known as Forsaken City. And you can hear hints of the soundtrack from those chapters that we were in. But it still has the Summit soundtrack going as well. We're going to be doing another neat little dash here to sneak up there. And this is more casual, how to get through this area. Now this right here, that's not how you're supposed to hit that spring. That's a little bit of a shortcut, saves you a couple seconds of time. You can do the same thing with this spring that I just hit. Unfortunately, I'm not very good at trying to get that second one. It's also a little trick here that if you get on top of this block quickly enough, you can basically dash up quickly, but we didn't get it, so we have to hit that block again, losing a little bit of time. It's little things like that that when I'm talking about I'm not very good at this, even though like what I'm doing is impressive, it's little things like that that lose you time. And you just start second guessing yourself because you're like, I know how to do this. Like that, I dashed too early, and I just lost a lot of time. But you start second guessing yourself, and you have to go, okay, now I have to do this again, or I have to kind of think. I have to think on the fly now because I'm used to doing this in a certain way. And if you don't hit the way you're used to doing it every single time, then yeah, you're basically messing yourself up. Nice little trick here where we're using the dream blocks to get a little further and higher. We unfortunately didn't get high enough to avoid the spikes on that, so we're going to try it again. Again, using dream dashes here. We unfortunately did not angle that correctly, so we're going to try it again. There it is. And last area here. Alright, that's the end of Forsaken City. Moving on to 1,000 meters. This is chapter 2. Or no, this is now chapter 3. I'm sorry. So this would be 1,500 meters. So yeah, the dream blocks being in the last chapter kind of, or the last area kind of messed with you a little bit, because they're in chapter 2. And these sprites are in chapter 3. But you get the idea. You start seeing every single thing that you've seen in your journey up to this point. Again, just being very safe with cycles. Now this cycle here I like to die on because it actually kind of helps me get through it versus trying to figure out whatever I need to do in the cycle when you're not dying. This cycle here too is another one that I'm just used to after dying. I don't try to reset it. Obviously, if I were in a virtual environment for a marathon, there is a bird in the room. He's usually pretty good. You probably just heard him. That's Copper. Or want to say hi, Copper. But if I were in person, obviously the bird would not be with me, so that would not be an issue. Now, unfortunately, the timing on that very last suit sprite moving up and down can be a little tricky. So that kind of threw me off a little bit. Now I gotta get used to where I am again. And yeah, I got juked by that timing on that other sprite. Yep, see, that's what I'm used to, because I'm used to that one being a little bit faster than my fall animation. And for whatever reason, he just kind of caught me on the fall animation. Again, we're going to be using screen transition dashing here to get a lot more height up on the screen in order to get it up through the ceiling. A little bit of a shortcut. And it nets you a strawberry. There's only 2 strawberries that we ever collect in the run, and we're not even trying to collect them on purpose. We're just doing that, we're just collecting them because it's either faster to do the berry collection method, or, yeah, it's faster to do the berry collection method. I was going to say either because it's a shortcut or because it's faster, but technically a shortcut is faster, so that was kind of redundant. There is another shortcut for this screen here. And when I say shortcut, I mean doing the screen faster. Trying to do this is not easy, so I don't do it a lot. It is definitely something I would love to practice. It's just at the very end of a 30-minute, 40-minute run, you're not thinking about doing things the fast way. You're thinking of completing the game. So you're doing more safe strats than you are trying to do things fast. Which is fun because, like I said, 30-40 minutes into a game that is really precise platforming, your hands are tired at this point, which is why you're seeing me make really silly mistakes that I was not making before. Even for someone who's played the game a million hours, or however long I've been playing this game for, put tons of hours into learning the speedrun, it is not easy to get to this level. There's another demo dash right here. I don't usually try to go for it just because I don't know how to recover once I've done the demo dash. Like, and when I say recover, I don't know what to do next. Like, I don't know if I need to jump and then dash again. Like, I just don't know. I have to really go see someone that does that demo dash and see what they're doing in order to get through that area so that they're not dying. A little bit of a fast dash there. Alright, and then we're going to be abusing this bubble here. So the game wants us to go down in order to go up. And then to take a key that's up in here in order to unlock that door. We're going to skip the half of that by just collecting the key, hitting reset, and then going back down to the door. There's a bubble down in the bottom that the game wants us to take in order to get that key. We just skipped that bubble entirely and skipped like a room full of cycles that you really don't want to do if you don't need to. And being very careful here because that's about 2 pixels to climb up through there. This room has another demo dash that, again, if I were practicing it, it would be a little bit faster. You're talking saving a couple of seconds in that room if you do it through demo dashing. Obviously, you lose time if you die while demo dashing, so it's easier for me to just do it the casual way because I die a lot trying to do it the demo dash way. These transitions, we do have to wait for Madeline and Madeline to separate, and we're already here at 3,000 meters. This is the top of Summit. A little game that I like to do with chat whenever I'm running this game is Countdown. What Countdown is that as you climb Summit, there are flags, there are miniature checkpoints. So whenever you die, you respawn a flag instead of at the beginning of the room. So that's 28. And we're going to be saying 27, and you get the idea. So I usually have chat play along and count down whenever we're trying to get through here, because this is the very last area of the game. And as you can see in this part of Summit, we have the wind back blowing down on us. This part of Summit, again, this is kind of like a form your own opinion kind of thing. Some people hate this area because the wind's blowing down on you. Some people actually love this area because the wind's blowing down on you. Again, you can skip the wind a lot by wall bouncing. But as you can see, there's not a lot of places to wall bounce from. Also, these springs give you full speed whenever you hit them. And this right here, dashing straight up, is just a matter of getting the rhythm right as you're dashing up. If you have the rhythm correct, then you're going to get into battle in almost no problem. Already at flag 18 here. We don't need to hit every flag in order to finish the game. So you might see me skip flags, but yeah. And again, very end of the run here, struggling. Been a 48-minute long run, and I'm just starting to bang my head against the wall and trying to figure out, okay, I know how to do this, I need to take a breath and do this. And there we go. That's flag 16 and 15 right next to each other. Now, what I'm doing in here is because Madeline only has a certain amount of climb stamina, I want to basically do a wall kick to progress forward instead of grabbing onto the wall, because if I grab onto the wall, it counts against my wall stamina grabbing, which then means I can't make it all the way. Already at flag 11. But yeah, there's not a whole lot to talk about for the rest of the run. It's just getting through these areas, using, again, certain kinds of dashes. Again, doing this more casually than some of the other levels that you've seen, just because I'm not as practiced in 6 and 7 as I am in some of the other levels, and knowing like the room strat. Flag 6. Now there is a little bit of a trick here. I was thinking that it was right there at the bottom. It's actually right here at the top. That's flag 5, flag 4. I think, yeah, I ended up dying here once because I forgot to dash. I think we end up dying here once as well because I hit dash too early. Yep. So this is where a lot of time loss comes in Chapter 7. It's this very end area where if you mess up between flags, the distance between the two flags, because you're climbing the whole way and you're not using a lot of dashes, can be very long. It's about 15 seconds per try. Especially in these more vertical sections. Now here, I'm thinking I can make it past this spike. I know I'm supposed to dash past it, but I was just trying to save time and did not think about like the consequences of not having a dash there. And here, again, fatigue is getting to me at this point. Now, I know people would say, well, it's only an hour run. It's not that long. It's not a matter of how long the run is. It's a matter of like how many button presses you've had to do in order to get to this point is what's tiring. And time. And that is Celeste Any Percent, 5302. My personal best is about a 46, so that's not terrible. It's about 6 minutes over my personal best. I'd like to get under a 40, and I know how to do that. I just need to practice 6 and 7 a lot more. And I'd love to get to a 35. Again, world record is like a 26 or a 27 as of this recording. Obviously, that could go down by the time you view this. Again, this game is amazing. Encourage everyone to run it. I try to watch through the credits as much as I am able to. Depending, obviously, on the marathon that I'm submitting this to, I can skip these credits and go directly to the end of the game. The timer stopped at this point, though. The end of the game is just reviewing, you know, what your progress was, how many times you died, and how many strawberries you got. The number of times you die don't matter at the very end. They don't change anything about the ending. The number of strawberries, though, that you get do change the ending a little bit. It basically changes how well of a strawberry pie you make for everyone at the cottage at the very end. So only collecting 2 strawberries, you're going to see a very sad strawberry pie. again, strawberry pie could be an incentive if that's something that the marathon people want to do. I do plan on learning all red berries, where we have to get every single red berry in the game. That's 175 red berries. The run is about 20 minutes longer than 80%, depending on how good you are at getting the berries. It's something that I've toyed learning with, and it's definitely harder because you have to go into more rooms, you have to know more strats, you have to know quite a bit more in order to do that run quickly. Top runners will usually switch from controller to keyboard in order to do runs faster. I'm a controller diehard when it comes to this game and platformer games in general, so I mean, like I said, if I get to a 35 with a controller, I'm going to be happy. I don't need to be faster than that. You're going to see some credits in here for speedrunners, tool assisted, and Everest. That's because this game is modded on my system, but when you run the game, at the very beginning you saw that with Celeste Mountain as the icon. If you instead see Everest, that means that the game is running on modded software. If it says Celeste, you are using the unmodded version. So feel free to check the video and make sure I'm not lying to you. This isn't modded. And this is the very end of the actual credit roll, so just to give an idea of anyone that's thinking about letting the credits play out, that's how long the credits are. And here's the cottage that we get to. We still had control there, so we had to actually move up to the cottage. And yeah, like I said, very sad strawberry pie. Nothing about our time, nothing about our deaths changes that. It's all in the amount of strawberries that we get.